Hi folks, time for another book haul. So a while back I was watching a video on Steve's channel, Outlaw Bookseller. He was going through, I think it was 25 books from this century that he'd really enjoyed, which is something, because he quite often says that he's kind of losing the will to live with contemporary science fiction. And I watched that. I was very interested to see that. I was also pleased to see that there were some books on his list of 25 that I already have and have read in some cases, and there were others that I haven't. And it can be quite an expensive business watching other people's booktube channels on science fiction books. If you've got an interest, then and easy access to the internet, then bad things can happen. So while I was watching that video, I had to keep pausing it to see if I could find the books he was talking about online. So the first one I got, the first one on this pile that I got, was Dogs of War by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's been on my sort of wish list for a little while, but they're typically about £20 to find in hardback. This one I found for £9 something, which wasn't bad. It's a used book, but it's in really nice condition. Well, it was. So foolishly, my routine when I get a book in is to give it take the polish off, take the price sticker if there is one off the back, and give it a bit of a clean with some furniture polish, which works very well for books with a kind of glossy or laminated cover. Less well for books like this, which have got a very plain paper cover. It's almost like a paper kind of cheesecloth. It's got texture to it. So without really thinking about it, I sprayed it on, and it immediately soaked into the cover and kind of just made it all kind of bobbly. You know how things go when they get wet. So I've left it somewhere to dry, and unfortunately it's now not smooth. So I'm going to try and iron it and see if I can restore it to its former glory. But never mind. Well, never mind. I'm really annoyed actually, but what can you do? Live and learn. So I will now be instigating a process step where I check the type of cover that's on the book before I spray it with something that might spoil it. This is a sort of a dystopian type novel where the modified, I don't know if they're modified animals or animal human kind of chimeras or what, but anyway, this one is the story of Rex, who is a good dog. Rex is also 7 foot tall at the shoulder, bulletproof, bristling with heavy caliber weaponry, and his voice resonates with subsonics, especially designed to instill fear. With dragon, honey and bees, which are other animal forms, he's part of a multi-form assault pack operating in the lawless anarchy of Campeche, southeastern Mexico. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. So he's a genetically engineered bioform, a deadly weapon in a dirty war. And he has the intelligence to carry out his orders and feedback implants to reward him when he does. Good doggy. And all he wants to be is a good dog, and to do that he must do exactly what Master says, and Master says he's got to kill a lot of enemies. So this guy is a weapon, literally. He's a canine weapon and has friends to boot. There is a sequel involving bears, if I remember rightly. I don't know what it's called now off the top of my head. Bear's Head, is it maybe? Anyway, Dogs of War. It was a very nice cover until I spoiled it by spraying it with polish, because I'm an idiot. It didn't need cleaning in the first place. I don't even know why I did that. So some other books that Steve referred to were the Corporation Wars by Ken MacLeod. I've got the books 2 and 3 here, I think they are. The other one is on its way. I think it's called Emergence, maybe. So we've got Dissidents and Insurgents. So these are there's no dust cover. There's directly printed on the outside of the hardback, so it's quite interesting, a bit different. And they will form a nice set. I'm expecting to get the other one, the missing one, in a day or two. It just didn't make it in time for this video. So those are quite nice. Again, Steve is to blame for these. I do like a bit of Ken MacLeod. I haven't read these ones, but I gather they're pretty good. And I ordered. So the first one is by James Smythe, and it is the Explorer, which is the first of 4, called the Anomaly Quartet. And I also got the Echo, which is the second of the 2. There we go. The first one, as you can see from the sticker there maybe, is Smythe obviously the signing at the Forbidden Planet shop, and it is signed in very minimalist fashion. I get the impression that he had several hundred of them to sign and got really cheesed off with doing it, but he's got what looks like almost Arabic calligraphy as his signature. almost Picasso minimalism in his signature form. So this book, so let's see, when journalist Cormac Easton is selected to document the first manned mission into deep space, he dreams of securing his place in history as one of humanity's great explorers. But in space, no one can hear you scream. No, wait, that's a different film. In space, nothing goes according to plan. The crew wake from hypersleep to discover their captain dead in his allegedly fail-proof safety pod. In mourn, and Cormac sends a beautifully written eulogy back to Earth. The word from ground control is unequivocal. No matter what, the mission must continue. But as the body count begins to rise, Cormac finds himself alone and spiralling towards his own inevitable death, unless he can do something to stop it. So that's the first one, The Explorer. And then The Echo. 20 years following the disappearance of the infamous Ishiguro, the first manned spacecraft to travel into deep space. Humanity are setting their sights on the heavens once more. Romilly begins to test the limits of Mira's comprehension and his sanity. Will Thomas be able to save his brother, or is Mira doomed to repeat the mistakes of his predecessors? So this one is not signed. James Smythe is not an author that I had heard of before watching Steve's video. Generally, if Steve says something's good, then I pay attention. And while I was at it, I can't remember now if he mentioned this as well, or if I have subsequently found it. But the Machine by James Smythe, which unfortunately has a blemish on the front. Another book. So it says, reminiscent of Ian McEwan at his most macabre, it's a fiction that demands to be taken seriously. Like Ballard, Smythe understands and ruthlessly demonstrates the nightmare that results when our fantasies are realised. Twilight Zone, part Ian Banks. Smythe has confirmed he's a versatile and brilliant writer. Beth lives alone on a desolate housing estate near the sea. She came here to rebuild her life following her husband's return from the war. His memories haunted him, but a machine promised salvation. It could record his memories, good or bad, and preserve a life that existed before the nightmares. Now the machines are gone, the government declared them too controversial, the side effects too harmful, but within Beth's flat is an ever-whirring black box. She knows that memories can be put back, and she can rebuild her husband piece by piece. It's a Frankenstein tale for the 21st century. The Machine is a story of the indelibility of memory and the human cost of science and the horrors of love. Once again, intriguing. So it looks like she's, judging by the front cover now, you can see, take a slightly closer sort of split personality type image. So she clearly rebuilds her husband, or has a go. And another book that I have heard of before, I think because Steve mentioned it in a different video actually, but he called out this one again, Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. She's got the cute pandas on, but I don't think they're very cute. Very cute actually. They've infiltrated homes in Hong Kong, shops in Vancouver, the streets of Sierra Leone, town squares of Oaxaca, schools in Tel Aviv, and bedrooms in Indiana. They're not our pets, not ghosts, nor robots. They're real people. But how can a person living in Berlin walk freely through the living room of someone in Sydney? How can someone in Bangkok have breakfast with your children in Buenos Aires without you knowing? Especially when these people are completely anonymous, unknowable, and untraceable. The characters in Samantha Schweblin's wildly imaginative new novel, Little Eyes, reveal the beauty of connection between far-flung souls, but they also expose the ugly side of our increasingly linked world. Trusting strangers can lead to unexpected love, playful encounters and marvellous adventures, but what if it can also pave the way for unimaginable terror? Schweblin has created a dark and complex world that is both familiar but also strangely unsettling, because it's our present and we're living it. We just don't know it yet. So I think this is a kind of cautionary tale about the interconnected world from the sound of it. So those 1, 2, 3, 7, soon to be 8 when the other Ken MacLeod books arrives, were basically all Steve's fault. So thanks very much, Steve. It cost me a few quid to watch that video. And then I was pleased to get, for not much money, Ben Bova Voyages. It's the first edition hardback, although I think the paperback was published before the hardback. It's by Seven House, which was published in, or printed in, 1987. First hardcover edition published in Great Britain, 1987, by the Seven House publishers. So the paperback would come out in 81 or 82 in the UK. It's nice, it's a little format, I guess that would be a quarto maybe, or octavo, I can never remember the formats. It's sort of a B format size hardback book. It's in very nice condition. It is price clipped, but no biggie. This is the story of aliens. Mankind's long dream and secret fear had at last come true. Radio pulses from the vicinity of Jupiter, which had a regular pattern and frequency never encountered before. Then the orbiting telescope, the Big Eye, showed an object circling Jupiter. Not a moonlet or a captured meteorite, it was an artificial craft, the product of an intelligent life. Security screen imposed, but then the alien craft changed its orbit, moved away from the huge planet and set a course for Earth. So I've read quite a bit of Ben Bova's work, particularly his kind of solar system colonization or exploration books. The Grand Tour, is it called? And I quite enjoy those. They're pretty, you know, straightforward, kind of on the nose stories. But you know, frankly, I don't mind that. But I have not read this one, I don't think. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that at some point. And it's in really nice condition. I ordered what I thought was a hardback from World of Books of this. It turns out to be a trade paperback. Now I can't honestly remember now if it was actually listed as a hardcover. I certainly thought it was. And you, unlike on eBay, where you can go back and look at the listing again. If you order direct from World of Books, you can't go back and see what it was listed as. It's not a thing. I emailed them saying I'm sure it was a hardback. Can you refund me? And they were like, well, it's a bit cheeky. They have these terms and conditions that basically say the picture, the image of the book that we show you might not be the one that you get, and it might be an entirely different edition of that book, but it will be that book. And their argument is, well, it's the same book. You know, you got the words. What more do you want? Well, I wanted a hardback. That's why I ordered it. Crazy people. And they were willing to issue me a refund, but only if I sent this back to them, which would have cost me £2.99 to do. And I only paid £3.08 for the book in the first place. So fuck it, I'll just keep it. I do find that a bit annoying though. I ordered by Will McCarthy, of whom I have one book called Bloom, which I think Steve at Apple Bookseller recommended to me. And I saw a paperback of this on a shelf, which I didn't pick up in a charity shop. And then while I was idly farting about on the internet, I had a look to see if I could get this in hardback for no good reason. And it was like £3.50 or something, so I got it. This is the first book of, I think, 3 of the Queendom of Soul trilogy. And in this book, you know, humanity's gone through a couple of hundred years of history and decided that actually the best form of government is a constitutional monarchy, kind of like we have here in the UK now. But the only one left on the world was on some Polynesian island, Tonga or something, and so the Queen of Tonga ended up being kind of the constitutional monarch for the whole world. So let's see. In the 8th decade of the Queendom of Soul, 3 things form the backbone of civilization. Wellstone is a programmable matter of almost magical properties. In Collapsium, of the title, a deadly crystal composed of miniature black holes, indispensable for the transmission of matter and information through the solar system. And rivalry, a bitter competition between Her Majesty's 2 brilliant scientists. So there's a whole lot of things going on there. There's a lot of court politics from the sound of it, plus some science. So less than Werner Vinge on the back says that McCarthy is a writer to watch. And then again, I was left alone in charge of the internet at home, and that's generally a mistake. I have the first of the Tad Williams Otherland books in hardback, but I don't have any of the others. I think I have 1 or 2 of them in paperback. And I wondered idly if I could find them all in hardback in decent condition. And indeed I could, and they weren't expensive, £3-4, something like that. So Tad Williams, The River of Blue Fire, which is the 2nd book, and they're all pretty thick, so it's quite a substantial tale. I'm not really familiar with the story, honestly. It's a civilization's most stunning achievement, a private, multi-dimensional universe built over 2 generations by the greatest minds of the 21st century. But this most exclusive of places is also a jealously guarded secret, created and controlled by the Grail Brotherhood, a private cartel known to few and made up of the world's most powerful and ruthless individuals. This seems like a kind of virtual immersive world / conspiracy type thing. And then we've got Mountain of Black Glass, which is book 3. I must say they're pretty shiny and colourful. I quite like the format. So it's book 3, pretty chunky. And then I have you guessed, book 4, which is called Sea of Silver Light. So with the first one that I already have, that I found for like £2 or something in a charity shop, I now have, for a rainy day, 4 enormous books to read at some point. And then yesterday, after my run, this wasn't deliberate, honest gov. I finished near Henley, so I thought I'd just pop in and see what they had in the charity bookshop there. And the last time I went, a couple of weeks ago, they really had basically nothing. I walked out with no books, which is quite unusual for me. And I thought the same was going to be true this time, but the guy that works in the back room sorting all the books that they've received donations, where they've received the donations, was there, and we've chatted a few times, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind me having a look around his shelves out the back for books that were waiting for space on the shelves out front, and he was perfectly happy for me to do that. So I found a few things. on such private shelves. So and these paperbacks are a little bit tatty, but I'll have them for now. Brian Aldiss Earthworks in the New English Library. I've got a few of those. They're pretty spine faded and a bit battered, but okay. And then I was pleased to see these Seeds of Time, which is the Harry Wilcock covers. This one's in really good condition. Very bright front still. You'll quite often see them faded out, and the spine is pretty bright still, and the back is in good nick as well. There is a bit of spine fade, but not a tragic amount. Some of the colours leached out of the back, but that's pretty good. So I didn't have that one, so that is one that I was missing. I think I'm still missing one or two of those. And I also found this Consider Her Ways, which I already had a copy of, but is find it. Hang on a second, don't go away. You'll see what I mean about faded. So that's the one that I already had, and that's the new one. So that's the colour it should be, and that's the colour this one had faded to. So I should be selling that one on eBay. That one is in pretty good nick. The spine is a bit creased and it's a bit kind of concave and it's a bit of lean, but it's still in much better condition than the one that I already have. So that's, consider that an upgrade. Happy days. Talking of things being in slightly flaky condition, Philip K. Dick preserving machine, another story. So if you watched my recent video on my pan lozenge collection, I didn't have any of the 3 Philip K. Dicks, so now I have one of the 3. This is in shitty condition and I will want to upgrade it, but as I said at the time of that video, I'm more interested at this point in completing the set rather than having them all be in super condition. So this will do perfectly well for now. It's a good reading copy. I found Babel by R.F. Kuang, which was a bit of a surge of publicity last year. I think when it was published, I think it was last year, 2022. Let's see. Actually, this one's from this year, earlier this year. Originally in hardback it was last year, but in paperback this year. So this set in Oxford, an alternative Oxford of 1836. It is the centre of all knowledge and progress in the world, and at its heart is Babel, or Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, the tower from which all the power of the empire flows. Orphaned in Canton and brought to England by a mysterious guardian, Robin Swift thought Babel a paradise until it became a prison. But can a student stand against an empire? So this has shades of Philip Pullman's Materials trilogy, with at least from the start, where Lyra is a ward of one of the fictional Oxford College. So it has similar vibe. It's had lots of praise, which I won't repeat here. This is not really science fiction; it's more fantasy, but it does sound intriguing. And I got this, which is a movie tie-in version of All You Need Is Kill by Sakurazaka, which was the source material for the movie Edge of Tomorrow. So this has just been recovered and renamed Edge of Tomorrow. It does say it's formally originally published as All You Need Is Kill. So it's original text, just with a movie tie-in cover. Well, I didn't have a copy of this in any form, so I'm happy to have that. And then I got a recent reprint of William Burroughs' The Ticket That Exploded, which is a pretty brief, slender novel. And it says on the back, as filthy and boggling as it was in 1968, would he get away with it today? Then in this little one we have Michael Crichton, The Lost World. I paid the princely sum of £1 for this because the man said it's a bit foxed on the text block, but I have a paperback copy of this. This is a first edition, 1995, first edition UK hardback. I mean, why wouldn't you? Seem rude not to for £1. And also for £1, I don't know, because it's a little bit beaten up, or at least the jacket is, and maybe a bit flaccid in the spine and the binding, but is Everville by Clive Barker, which is the second book of the art, the first one being, I think it was The Great and Secret Show, which I read in the 90s and quite enjoyed. I haven't really thought about them since then. For the sake of £1, it seemed unreasonable to leave it behind. Like I say, the cover's a bit beaten up on the top, and the spine is definitely been well read. But again, that's the first edition from the mid-90s. So that is everything in this little haul, just a miniature one. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye for now.